r/AskReddit. Children of helicopter parents, what was the worst or most embarrassing thing they put you through? When I went away to college, my parents would call me every day. I went away to a fraternity weekend retreat during my freshman year where us pledges weren't supposed to bring our phones. I told my parents that I'm going away 3 days and not to call me. On the day we were coming back, the guy driving us got a call. He then hands me his phone and tells me to call my parents. It turns out that when my parent couldn't reach me for 3 days, they came to my college and went around my dorm and half the campus asking everyone if they've seen their lost little boy. I was 18 at the time. On top of that, since I was on their family cell phone plan, they looked up all the numbers I had recently called and texted. They proceeded to call everyone letting them know I'm lost and asking if they knew where I was. This included girls that I had crushes on but barely knew, random classmates, and mild acquaintances. When I got back to my worried parents waiting for me at my dorm, I found my cell phone with a bunch of messages of people asking if I'm okay and letting me know my parents are looking for me. For the next day, every 1 in 5 people I walked past would ask me if I talked to my parents because they were looking for me. Till what my mommies. I had a field trip when I was 10 years old that I was very excited to go to. The morning of the field trip, my grandma picks up a call from the school saying that the trip was cancelled. I was enlightened at the fact that I could play games all day, but disheartened at the fact that I missed out on my field trip. Next day comes and I go into class. I remember asking the professor, when are we going on the field trip, since it was cancelled yesterday? And the professor just looks at me with this puzzled face, as if I was retarded or something. I end up finding out that my mom called my grandma and told her to act as if the school called my grandma and pretend that the school cancelled the trip. Apparently, my mom was afraid of the school bus flipping over and combusting into flames, while also there being a possibility of me being sexually molested. I had to make an account for this thread. Shout out to mom for inspiring me to make an account for Reddit after years of lurking. I didn't go to any school dance or sports event. So yeah, no prom, nothing. I was not allowed to go to the mall by myself. When I was 19 years old, my dad would follow me around, like he'd walk about 5 feet behind me. When I was 20, I said I was going to get a cell phone and got into a big fight with my parents because they didn't want me to have one. I had been working since 15 and was going to pay for it myself, etc. Couldn't lock the door to my bedroom or the bathroom, even in my early 20s. Moving out was the best thing ever. I remember when I was 12 or so, my mom, little sister, 7 at the time, and I went to Costco to do some shopping. My dad showed up dressed as a clown. He used to dress up for birthday parties, followed me and my little sister around honking his clown horn in our ears, yelling to all the guys that he was our dad. He still shows up at my work and tells my coworker to tell me that my daddy is here to see me. I'm 31. I think the last time I called him daddy was when I was 0.78. Nobody calls him daddy. My parents treated me like I was a kid until I had my own son this August, despite the fact that I've been living on my own, paying all of my bills, handling my business for about 10 years now. It got really weird this year while pregnant because they started calling me their baby and suddenly forgot that I was their oldest. My mom would tell me about my birth, but it was really my sister's birth, etc. My sister moved to another state years ago to get away from them. Now I see why, and it was just weird, like she didn't exist anymore, and I was their only child. My parents decided that they were going to have custody of my son once he was born, which is totally delusional. My mother is 90% disabled and can't even sit up by herself, and my dad thinks it's okay to have BBQ fires inside the garage and smoke weed while he drives. I had to change my locks because my dad would show up randomly and follow me around my house yelling all sorts of weird shit while I had company over. Right before my son was born, I told them that once the baby got here, we are not having any unscheduled visitors. No, we just happen to be in the neighborhood BS. I said I don't care. If Jesus Christ himself is at the front door, he wouldn't be coming in. Now that my son is here, we go to my parents' house every week or so. My mom will hold him and tell my dad to hold him, and my dad will say oh I will later and wander off to watch TV. If he doesn't get to hold the baby before we leave, he gets mad. Even if we try to get him to do it the entire time we are there. We will see how things go. Once my son gets older, they will probably try to indoctrinate him with their crazy religious beliefs and conspiracy theories. Other than the weekly visits, I try to limit my interaction with them. They stress me out big time. I work in an and I get sick and tired of helicopter parents bringing their offspring in for ridiculous reasons. He got a nosebleed a week ago, and again today. She's been having foot pain after pain, etc. The worst are the parents that bring their over 18 Y/O kids into the because they want them drug tested. I love turning to the legal adult and asking, do you consent to this? The parent normally turns beet red and starts yelling at me about how they are the parent and they pay the insurance, yada yada blah blah. At which point I remind them that their precious child is now an adult, and without their child's express consent I cannot perform any tests on them. I've seen more than my fair share of light bulbs go off over the kid's head and them flat out refuse all lab work. I tell them, alright, you hurt him. I can't do anything. This normally ends in a call to the hospital administrator that will then tell them the same thing. I'm also not allowed to give out any information over the phone, as I cannot verify you are the legal guardian, nor in the room without express permission. It's fun to watch people's veins throb when they can't get their way. My buddy had the worst helicopter mom. We were going to college 3 hours away from his hometown and ended up at a random after bar party with people we met just that night. His mom showed up, no idea how she found us, walked in and grabbed him by the ear and dragged him out to her car. She then proceeded to drive him back to our hometown. The next day, she made him get a ride back to college with his former high school sweetheart he had recently broken up with. She did all this because mom didn't approve of the breakup. Edit, it probably was a phone tracking thing. Pretty sure he was still on a family plan at the time. He's now married to a woman who is, in my opinion, also rather controlling. Oedipus is real. I wasn't allowed to hang out with girls when I was younger, and one day I was at the school park with some of my friends and there were a couple girls there too. My mom called me on the phone to ask who I was hanging out with. I only mentioned my guy friends. Well, apparently my mom was spying on me with binoculars. The park was just a few blocks from my house. As soon as she saw the girls, she drove to the park, got out and made a big scene about it in front of everyone, and made me go home. That probably wasn't even the most embarrassing thing she's put me through. There's been countless other situations. Not me personally, but I dated a guy in college who had the craziest helicopter parents. As a 20-year-old dude, he was not allowed to leave his condo that they owned. They lived about 30 minutes away and constantly called to make sure he was there. He was literally expected to go directly from class to home every single day. When we went out for dinner, to the movies, etc., he had to use cash because his parents checked every single purchase on his bank statement and would question him about them. He wasn't allowed to drive, so he had to commute by bus to school every single day, about 45 minutes. One time we went to a summer concert in downtown, and his mom called him. He ran out of the concert so he could find a quiet spot to talk to her, and then was so scared he made us leave the concert. The reason he put up with all this was because his parents were paying for everything, the nice condo he lived in, his tuition, etc. He had never worked a day in his life. Not sure what he's doing now, but I'm pretty sure they still have that hold on him. My mom would do random checks on my phone every couple days. Out of nowhere she'd ask for my phone and I'd have to hand it over. My parents also didn't believe in dating, they believed in courting. Because of that, I felt the need to keep all my relationships secret. One day she asked for my phone before I'd had the chance to delete any incriminating texts. I knew there were some steamy messages on there from my so I handed it over knowing shit was about to hit the fan hard. I went and sat down, but I just couldn't handle it. I got up and walked right out the door. I was wearing my PJs still, and hadn't put on shoes. I ran for a while and then started walking. Didn't realize I was crying until I slowed down. It took my parents about 20 minutes to find me, but hey, I ended up marrying the guy I was texting, so I've got that going for me. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.